Hi everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. As you may or may not be aware, that little thing up in front of me is Bugsy Malone, as you probably are aware. And this is Tottenham Walks episode 98. Depending on how long I talk about the first of three topics today, I might split this up into two videos and drop feed them over the day for you. Before we get going, guys, do me a favour and smash a like on the video. Do Bugsy a favour and smash a subscribe on the video if you haven't already, or on the channel. Do yourselves a favour and smash a notification bell button so that you can be first to be alerted on the new content that's dropping. And let's do the conversation a favour by, can I ask you to leave a comment? I love reading the comments. I love seeing and taking in all of your different perspectives on various topics that we talk about. You're developing my thought processes and, you know, sometimes change my mind with the ways that you present your arguments for what we're talking about. So I really appreciate the conversations that are happening in the comments below the videos, guys. Guys, I'm going to start today by talking about loanees, Harry Winks and Serge Reguillon. For the first time ever, it looks like we're not needing to talk too negatively about the possible impending return or disappointing features of Tanguy and Ndombele. You know, seemingly he has acclimated well into Napoli. Napoli obviously doing brilliant things in their league, in the Champions League, and he's been a part of that whole story. I wouldn't say that he is, you know, back to his, well, I say back to his best, but we never really saw the best of him, I don't think. But he's not so much of an impending problem. There's actually noise and rumours that Napoli may actually trigger the option on him. I think it was for like 30 million euros. So depending on whether or not Napoli do well in the Champions League, how much money they can raise, if they go on and win Serie A, for example, which is looking like a pretty decent bet right now, they'll have a lot of money. And maybe Tanguy and Ndombele will be one of the permanent transfers. We'll see what happens there. Long season yet to play out, and I'm sure lots of twists and turns. But we're not talking about him today. Not really going to talk too much about Dane Scarlett, even though it's great to see him come back with a goal for Portsmouth. He hadn't scored since September. He's been playing very well. Been playing really well by all accounts. But he started off his time in Portsmouth with a few goals early doors, and then since September been contributing to the cause, but not actually grabbing too many or any at all goals. But that changed. I think it was in the Vange Trophy last week. He scored about an absolute cracker, but his manager actually gave him the plaudits more for what he did defensively and said that he hasn't seen a performance like that from someone of his age in that position do the things that he did defensively, which is just brilliant to hear. So, you know, Dane Scarlett, all things are looking positive there, guys. Where there's bad news, I'm going to talk about these two for a moment now, is Serge Reguillon and Harry Winks. We spoke about Harry Winks before on this channel maybe a month ago, and it doesn't look like anything's really changed. He hasn't kicked the ball for Sampdoria. He hasn't managed to get fit. It doesn't look like he's settled in very well over there. And of course, it looks like he needs surgery, and Sampdoria are trying to tear up his contract and send him back to Tottenham in January. I don't know what the structure of the contract is, how well the lawyers tied that one up. You know, whether or not there is wiggle room for him to be released or for him to be sent back to home. I understand Napoli not wanting to, you know, foot the bill for his surgery. I understand them not wanting him taking up a squad space if he's not going to play, and he'll be out for, you know, several months if he does elect to have that surgery. So the whole experience would have been very expensive for Sampdoria and literally yielded no results. And as a Tottenham guy, you know, look, He's not the guy that's going to come back in and play football for Tottenham ever again, I would imagine, I would hope. He's not good enough. But that doesn't mean that we should disrespect his work ethic, his name and his history. He came through the youth team at Tottenham. He's Tottenham through and through. Supposedly his training efforts were always remarkable. Maybe that was on some level responsible for why he got so many chances, despite most of the fans scratching our heads thinking, why? Why are you playing again? Very professional guy. Never heard any problems from him. There was never any issues like there were with people like Serge Reguillon or Lo Celso, seemingly not caring or being distracted like Dele Alli. None of that stuff ever happened. He just didn't have a good enough level of technique or quality to match the level that we at Tottenham are trying to achieve. On that basis, if they do find a way and a wiggle room to, renege on the contract, it's an issue for Tottenham, but it's one that I'm tolerant of because of the reasons I just mentioned. I'm not sure I can say the same thing for Serge Reguillon. Allegedly, he is also not wanted anymore by Atletico Madrid. He's only played 30 minutes of competitive football for Madrid this season. Apparently his efforts in training have been piss poor, and Atletico also want to tear up the contract and send him back to Tottenham. Now with Serge Reguillon, it's a real shame, right? Because I genuinely always felt like he was a better player than Ryan Sessegnon. He also had massive issues with the finished article, taking his chances, decision making in the final box. But as a player, when you look at the player, the potential, the speed, the grit, his ability to pass, and he seemingly looked like he was happy at Tottenham in his first season. But his first season happened and everyone was pretty happy, and then he kind of tailed off, didn't he? Started to get caught up, I think, maybe with the bad crowd. There was lots of rumours of him hanging out with some of the other Spanish players during COVID, going off to Paris, turning up drunk or at least turning up looking dishevelled. Bugsy, come here, please. After a night out with those guys. And it was clear to me that Antonio Conte didn't really see eye to eye with him. I spotted it quite early in Conte's time last season that after games, Conte would go around and shake or hug most of the Tottenham players, but I never actually saw or witnessed him doing that with Serge Reguillon. And I was talking about this even before my channel was starting. And when I first started out, I was on the Irish Hotspur a lot, and myself, Dave and Jack were talking and positing that maybe they've had an argument because it looks like the relationship is bitter and sour. Bugsy, let's go, please. And consequently, it wasn't a surprise to me to see him ousted from the team. If he comes back, if the lawyers haven't made an airtight contract that says, sorry, Atletico Madrid, you signed him for a season, you keep him for a season, then he'll come back into the team, and then we've got a problem. We've got real problems, because they either get put back into the squad, which means, do we have space? I don't think we do for any of them. Or we have to spend time. Paratici has to take up precious moments trying to negotiate and haggle and find a new home for these two players that are surplus to requirements at Tottenham, but that are going to be very difficult to find homes for. Whilst Atletico Madrid looks good on your resume, if he comes back with a bad attitude and that stuff gets around, who's really going to want to pay and play Serge Reguillon? I don't know. I'm sure we'll find someone somewhere, but not going to be easy. Harry Winks, if he's carrying an injury, which whether or not he elects to have the surgery or not, the injury will have to be dealt with at some point. There's nobody that's going to want to take Harry Winks. Nobody. Maybe someone in the Championship, but does Harry Winks want to go there? Who knows, right? I just feel like it's a headache that we don't want to have. It couldn't come at a worse time. And this, to me, is one of the problems with this loan policy. And I understand it because the economics of European football is such that most of the teams are barely struggling to stay afloat, let alone being able to, go out and find highly attractive players. But they've got no money to pay for the transfer fees that Premier League players command. The players are less willing to sacrifice high wages that they earn at Tottenham or elsewhere in the Premier League to go to Europe, where they're less likely to get anything like the wages they'll get paid here. And all in all, what that leaves you with is a situation where players are in no hurry to leave. Loan deals are incredibly difficult to structure. And permanent transfers are difficult for the board to stomach because it means writing down the assets that you don't think needs or should have to be written down. So it's a complex kind of paradigm of trickiness that Paratici has to navigate. And every second that he's trying to navigate that is a second that he's not trying to figure out to plug the holes that Tottenham needs. So it's disappointing. It's frustrating. I understand it with Harry Winks. With Serge Reguillon, it leaves a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth because he has all the talent in the world, that kid. Again, similar to Dele Alli, similar to Ndombele, similar to Lo Celso, similar to dozens and dozens of players outside of Tottenham Hotspur who, I guess, get caught up in their own hype or get distracted by the glitz and the glamour of fame and having too much too young, that their attitude and their application is weak and ultimately will hold them back. And most of those kids will at some point grow up and look back and reflect and think, damn, I wish I took advantage of that opportunity. Regrets, right? We've all had a few. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. What sort of complications do you think that the impending or pending return of Harry Winks and or Serge Reguillon will have on Tottenham's window? If you're up to speed with all of the squad numbers that we have, the homegrowns versus the foreigners, and how many places are available right now, please add to the conversation. I don't have that stuff in front of me. I'd love to know whether or not it's not only a headache, but actually a hindrance in more ways than one. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. I'll see you for the next one, which is actually going to be recorded right now. Like you, love you, and I can't wait to meet you all at some point. Have a good one, guys. As always. Bye-bye.